Good morning. How are you? Well, it's a little overcast and it's raining lightly, so an Irish mist, except there are droplets of rain. And it's supposed to be a little cooler, meaning 80s instead of 90s. So it's not bad. Um, I spent a good part of the day already uh, dealing with the fact that a client of mine who's in a jail, when he was not in his cell, they came in and they rifled through his cell, a shakedown. And what did they find? Well, as far as I can tell, they didn't find anything. But when he came back to his cell, all his legal papers were spread across his bed. And so it means they looked at his legal papers. And I've since done what I do, called up the jail, assailed the characters for what they did. They denied they'd done it. I asked them what their policy was about legal mail, and they say they open the envelope and they look inside. And I said, how exactly do you minimize what you're looking at when you look at an envelope and the letter inside? And he said, it's like you minimize, which is a concept when you do wiretaps, of what you see. I said it was a baffling explanation. So I've written a series of demands to the jail. And I'll renew that after I finish my walk. Burn off some of my Irish energy for being pissed off at how totally unfair the system is. From the lowest case to the worst case. It's just, but as you get higher and higher, you've seen there are people who are immune. None of this stuff touches them. You wouldn't even dare think of dealing with it. Now, the officers I talked to are all very polite. And I suppose they're told they can do this. It's just unbelievable to me that that's how they work. Now, John McLaughlin and I, in our maiden new venture on the level, we are going to talk about surveillance and these things. But I didn't expect I'd have as proximate to our Sunday airing an incident in one of my own cases. But it happens all the time. It's infuriating. There's the world that people believe goes on inside courtrooms, and then there's what really goes on in courtrooms, what prosecutors fail to do to turn over evidence that's exculpatory, that sometimes people lie. The best officers don't. I've worked with the best, and I've had the best on the witness stand. If you ask them a question, if it's not in their notes and they don't remember it, they don't see it. But like everything else, there's this proportion of people in every profession who mess it up, who do the wrong thing. Now, turning to other issues, let's talk about the Taliban. How do we think this is going to end any other way except in disaster? We went into Iraq, we went into Afghanistan, we officially and unofficially went into Pakistan. We never should have been in Iraq. If we were chasing Osama bin Laden between Afghanistan and Pakistan, we probably could have gotten him if we were sincere about it, but it appears that we weren't, and maybe we won't know for years. And if we focused on Afghanistan, why shouldn't that have been a police action instead of regime change? And, the Taliban, we believed, blew up the World Trade Center, and that's who we should have been looking at. And we should also respect the limitations that we have. Clint Eastwood always said a man ought to know his limitations. Well, America, I don't know. We have these geniuses, I mean really real geniuses, military geniuses, and I wonder if they're ignored when this stuff happens, that politicians say, hold my beer, let's go do this. And we probably won't have a picture like in Saigon, but there are aspects of it. If you're going to retreat, withdraw, you have to expect there's going to be damage. And Powell said when we went into Iraq, things like, if you break it, you own it. And we're going to own this. And the Taliban, they're not just winning because they have superior forces. They're winning because the people are either intimidated or want them. Democracy doesn't export well. We've learned that, I think. And, consider what a major piece of income is. It's heroin, for Christ's sake. And this is a country that we're trying to help. I don't know. So we'll get through that. On the Cuomo front, and I say this for interest, The state legislature, the General Assembly, the Judiciary Committee has decided not to go forward with an impeachment since he will be gone by the time they might start it. You know, and some will be upset that they can't impeach him and then bar him from running for public office. And the circumstances may do that anyhow. And if they don't, the people get a chance to say he should be elected or not. And by that time, we'll have a better perspective on how much more terrible these accusations are, or how maybe they don't justify barring him from public office. The people in the polling places will probably decide that. Of course, the virus is with us, and it's terrible in some places, Arkansas being one of them. It's just out of control, and kids, children, teens are all suffering. And I posted a picture on Twitter of an older gentleman, state senator, leaning into a young child, 10 years old, with the mother standing there and saying, "I'm against mandating face masks." Really? Wow. That person should be run out of town. And to be so close and to think this is reassuring. And the post has been up long enough that a couple of people have said to me that, what's he doing so close to the kid? Hopefully he's vaccinated. And maybe not. A person who's saying something like that may not be vaccinated. And it could go the other way. The kid could make him ill. So this is the kind of nonsense that we deal with all the time. We have another judge who's upholding the moratorium on evictions. So we're getting, I guess, split decisions in different places. Will the center hold? That's our quick question. And the wildfires out west are apparently increasing the chances, which I guess makes sense, for the coronavirus to take hold, because I suppose if it's compromising your lungs, which is the pathway for this virus, or one of the pathways for this virus, then anything that further compromises your lungs, and people who have comorbidities are an example, absent this natural disaster of these wildfires. So that's another aspect of it. What are we to do as the supposed best among us, our leaders, fail us? We have to keep on their case. That's it. That's the only thing they understand. And we have to encourage those. And there'll be private citizens, and there'll be newspapers and others who will keep illuminating what's going on. And we have to get on these things, and we have to keep on them. Whether it be about the truth of the virus, or whether it be about can we really deal with infrastructure. I think if I were to squint and say what are our two top issues, preserving the democracy is at the top of the list. Nothing happens if that doesn't happen. Since the attack on the democracy are autocratic insurrections, then we have to protect the vote. So if you look at basic necessities for a democracy that enhances freedom and protects differences among people who must be treated as equals, then those are your issues. One, throw out those who violate those principles. Have a grand jury, not some IG report, not a bunch of Senate committees in which they'll hoo-ha this thing into oblivion, do nothing at all, make a bunch of recommendations, none of which will happen in legislation. So prosecute the people who did to our country what our founding fathers said should never happen, and passed and introduced a constitution that said exactly that. Number two, get over this damn cloture and vote for voting rights, because we either are or are not a democracy. We're reminded by what's going on in Afghanistan how hard it is to export democracy. Are we now having problems at home to preserve and protect democracy, the oath of office of every public official, from a justice of the peace up to the President of the United States? Apparently we are. So what we have to say from our chest and our heart and our belief and our mind is what saves America again from another series of corrupt and unworthy men and women who have no business thinking that they're leading America and misleading our citizens. So that's enough of that. I'll talk to you on Sunday. And do watch our new podcast. John and I are going to try to try some different things to make it more interesting and to make it more current. So I think you might enjoy it. So here I am in my cathedral of trees, and the rain has stopped, and it's somewhat cool. All the best. Bye-bye.